was a very successful few days that we spent here as Team Canada, Canada's premiers from every single province and territory.
It gave us a bit of a sense of the posture of some of his key folks and an open invite for us to come back.
And I'm optimistic that with our team of premiers, with Minister LeBlanc, the ambassador, we can convince Secretary Lutnick and convince the president that if they want to avoid inflation and avoid increasing prices at the grocery store, then Canada is their best partner.
5 days of power play, and as you heard there, we had plenty of premiers come on this show to talk about their mission to Washington, D.C. It was all in an effort to try and stave off those Trump tariffs. So, how'd they do? Well, let's bring back the front bench. Sabrina Grover, Rudy Husney, Gurtan Singh, and Laura Stone. Laura, I want to start with you because you were down there with the team of premiers. So how would you rate their job in terms of who they spoke with and the outcomes that they may or may not have come away with?
Well, first of all, Mike, we missed you down there. We had so much fun standing outside for hours. You should have been there. I know you love that.
So much fun.
As a real newsman.
So much fun.
I mean, look, so I think kind of the main goal of the premiers was to meet with as many people as possible, right? And every day they were kind of being peppered with questions about who they were meeting with, how close they are to the Trump administration, what kind of influence they had, culminating with this meeting at the White House that was kind of pitched by the group of premiers as high-ranking officials. And then we found out who the individuals are. And I guess it's in kind of the eye of the beholder as to how influential the deputy chief of staff and the chief of personnel truly are. And if they do have the president's ear, I mean, I'm not as familiar with Trump's inner circle and the interpersonal relationships. One of the individuals seems to be close with Donald Trump Jr., whether that has an ultimate impact. So, I mean, look, I think if the premiers had met with the president himself or someone who had, his chief of staff or someone from within the administration, I think that would probably have looked like a stronger meeting for the premiers coming into that. But they did meet with some key Trump allies in Congress and different senators who have spoken warmly about the Canada relationship. So, I mean, they've been asked numerous times, okay, what does success look like to you? And Premier Doug Ford said no tariffs, right? So we don't seem to be heading down that road. But we also kind of heard this message of let's just kind of not react to everything that President Trump said and see what happens and continue this outreach. So I certainly don't think it's the end of the line for the premiers and the federal government. Representatives who are meeting with members of the incoming administration, but I don't think it kind of gets wrapped up in a day of meetings either, right? I mean, it's going to be a long-term battle for Ottawa and the premiers to form these relationships and try to convince the business community in the United States that this is the wrong way to go. So it's definitely not mission accomplished, I would say, for the premiers after this week.
Yeah, and Gurtan, I guess it's sort of like climbing Mount Everest. You don't do it in one leap.
Exactly. And I think right now we need to kind of look at it as in two different manners. One is that there was a really powerful show of unity across Canada with all the premiers going to Washington to make their case that the threat of tariff will have a terrible impact, not just on Canada, but on America's economy as well. But when we do look at and I do want to applaud all the premiers for that work. That was powerful to see, and it was a great show of unity and a great show of Canada standing together. But when we do look at Trump's response, it should, I think, bring a sense of caution for all of us in the sense that he did not put what you would expect that kind of delegation to meet. I don't think this is a slight against the premiers. I think it demonstrates the headspace of Trump. I think it demonstrates that he is someone who really is pushing hard on this point. And this actually demonstrates I think we should all not hold our breath, and we should actually be prepared as possible. I think it's incumbent on every single politician and leader, federally, provincial, otherwise, to take Trump's threats for what they are. Very legitimate potential attacks against our economy that could have a devastating result.
Rudy, do you think that it was beneficial to see everybody down there together and sort of singing from the same songbook?
Look, I thought it was a good idea for the premiers to go there, to meet with senators, to meet with congressmen, to be before chambers of commerce. But as a former political staffer, especially I was at international trade, I thought that it was a big mistake for them to go to the White House for different reasons. First of all, I know Prime Minister Trudeau is a lame duck, but it's no excuse for premiers to go to the White House. I mean, the relationship between the White House should be with the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister, not premiers, especially if you're going to meet political staffers that are not the highest ranking. In my book, and that's how it is normally, political staffers meet with political staffers, elected officials meet with elected officials. You don't have this kind of, premier meeting with a political staffer. It's like, I don't believe the governor of Vermont comes to Ottawa and meet with the chief of staff to the prime minister. It's not how it happens. So if the premiers needed a reality check in terms of what is a staffer from the Trump administration, great. But in terms of, passing a message that all of a sudden, they're going to go and twist the arm of the president. They don't know how it works because as a political staffers, I met with people. My role was to execute the will of my minister or elected official. So I don't think that it was very smart. It was just the move over the top. Otherwise, I thought it was a good mission. I thought it was important. I thought they should go again. But I think that going to the White House was just a photo op because of Doug Ford. He's in an election. Premier Legault also wanted all of that. And by the way, Premier Legault did a big mistake when he was in Washington. He said in a scrum that he was open to make a compromise when it comes to aerospace, but not supply management. That's not the message that you do. I mean, as I said, I'm a former from international trade. For 4 years, we negotiated with Europe, for example. We had one message. We're here to promote and defend every sector of the economy, not opening and saying, oh, we're ready to make one concession or another.
Okay, so Sabrina, I got to give you the last minute, but it's a hard count, so I might have to cut you off.
I think at the end of the day, the biggest problem with the United States right now is that it's pure chaos. So, and I think you can tell that every day, like in the White House with these Donald Trump briefings, right? The only person that knows what's in Donald Trump's head is Donald Trump. The only person that can make a decision each and every day is Donald Trump, maybe Elon Musk, depending on the day. And so I think the premiers are doing their best alongside ministers like Dominic LeBlanc, Melanie Joly, Mary Ng. They're all doing what they can. The only thing that is going to really start to make this wave turn is when Americans themselves start to feel the pain of both Donald Trump and these tariffs, right? So you're going to see significant impacts on steel tariffs in American jobs in those states that matter, Ohio, Philadelphia, Michigan. You're also already seeing Trump regret voters, people who are upset because Trump's cuts to U.S. aid are affecting their farms. People are upset because—
Sabrina, can you wrap up the point if you don't mind, because I got to get going.
I think at the end of the day, like what's going to happen is that as Trump voters start to turn away from him, that's when you're going to see a change in his relationship with Canada. Until then, all we can do is our best.
Okay, and you guys have done your best to stick to time, so I appreciate that. Sabrina Grover, Rudy Hasni, Gurritan Singh, Laura Stone, thanks so much for being on the Friday Front Bench.